Okay, here we go. All right, looks like we're going live. So, um, great. Let me check my settings. Yeah. Hey, folks, it's David Bourne, and I'm here to talk about how experimentation is so important. Not only experimentation itself, but a mindset of experimentation as you're doing something new. I'll use the example of this project that I'm working on, but I want you to be thinking about the example of what projects you want to be working on. So take a second and ask yourself, what is it that I've been wanting to do, but for whatever reason, you could call it procrastination, you could call it making excuses, which is probably another form of procrastination, just afraid of messing up. So many denominators we can give the reasons why. I guess I could go on forever doing that. But you know what yours is. I'm learning what mine is. I've got a lot of them. But an experimentation mindset is huge. Experimentation itself is great, but the mindset is even more important. So I'm going to do a quick recording of how this helps us move forward. So let's move over here to Obsidian. So experimentation is everything. I have talked about this idea recently of forward flow. So forward flow is the concept that you want to be moving forward. We all want to move forward, right? But there's a flow of moving forward. You have to make the complete cycle. I'll draw this out in a second. But it integrates the four parts of the self, and so it's a holistic way of looking at your entire self and not just using your mind and your body, but using your heart and your spirit as well. That kicks in all your creative forces, your whole mind, and there's some really huge benefits to that. And this mindset that I'm talking about with experimentation has to do with just how you look at your work, and it has a lot to do with how much you're going to allow the resistance to kick in. So the things that keep us from doing their work are the resistance. All right, so if you want to go back and look into the forward flow, I've got some videos in the past week where I've talked about forward flow and talked about those different parts of the self, the mind, body, heart, and the spirit here, but also the different parts of this cycle. So I'm obsessed about this stuff. That's why I'm here, to talk about this stuff. But I realize that may not be helpful for you at all. So let's flip over in this experiment over to the iPad. All right, so in this iPad, I am going to draw you this cycle. I realize that I look down a lot when I'm drawing on the iPad, and I'm going to try to do that less, but it's just inevitable for me to see sometimes. So this is our four parts of the self, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also the four parts of change. When we start out, when we actually take action, and then we learn the results. And then we come back and we learn something and we integrate that new something in here. And so what I'm asking you to integrate now is this belief. Belief is hugely important in this section. This truth, I call this section in the PART. How am I going to do this? There's four parts. And this part, when we talk about experimentation, is really important, the T part. So we've got P, A, R, and T. This truth is equal here to a belief. And so what I'm suggesting is that at least in this way of framing it, is you look at your work as experimentations. Experiments. Okay, so what are the other parts quickly? You've got your let's call it your plan. You've got your action. Nothing happens without action. Making a plan is it's kind of an action, but until you start to implement the plan, that's when things really take off. And then your results. So the 4-part, P-A-R-T. And again, the importance of the experiment here. So I was writing truth up here. All right, we're back. So what were we talking about? The importance of belief that this is an experiment. Why is that so important? Well, down here, this is your higher self up here. This is where you want to be. This is your true. This is why this always also works out. This is your true self up here at the top. This is who we're trying to be. This is the part of us that we know is the best part of us. It's the purest part. It's the spirit part. It's the part that doesn't care if we get it wrong because it knows there is no wrong. Now our culture doesn't talk about this much at all. So this may not make any sense, but I need you to ask yourself, if you want to fully understand this, is you've got to start taking action and doing the thing that you want to do, and then check in with that feeling in your body that often happens. I know it does with me. Like, this is not the right, this is not the right thing, but this doesn't feel safe. Well, that's the bottom down here. That's your resistance. And it's super important, another part of the belief and part of this higher self. The higher self is a loving self, because it's easy to beat ourselves up over this problem that we have, right? What happens is, the thing I talked about in the last video, is we start out with this idea in our mind and then our body, where we hold so many of these emotions and memories. And there's a fellow named Michael Singer that talks about, he uses an old ancient term called samskaras, which to me, I hear that word scar, samskara, and it's like the head trash. It's another word. It's just the old trash we hold in our bodies, these blockages that keep this flow from happening, right? And so that's our resistance. And if you have a belief of experimentation, and this quadrant is so important, your experimentation, I keep writing this word, experimentation. Experimentation really helps. So you hold this in your mind, you hold this thought of experimentation. So as you go in these cycles, very importantly down here, when you have your heart-based emotions, when those emotions start to kick in and they're telling you, oh man, this work is not good. If you've got the thought, well, yeah, it's not good. I experimented with this part of it. Like I've been experimenting the heck out of this setup, all this gear that I'm using. You can't see it, but I've been experimenting every day. And in fact, most of my time as I do this series, it's spent on this experimenting, not on doing this actual part right here, which is the talking that I want to do, the sharing of the actual important ideas. But, I love the gear. That's part of the play that happens here. Play is really important. And that part of you that likes to play, that's down here in this emotional part. And it is I'm going to change the color of my pen. I promised myself I wouldn't get so messy, but here I am messy anyway. And so what? I guess I like messy. This part of me that likes to play likes to get messy. One of the people who taught me this system, Jill Bolte Taylor, she calls her playful self Pigpen, from the Schultz Peanuts cartoon. There's this figure, Pigpen. What a brilliant idea. Every time they show Pigpen, they've got this cloud of dirt around him because he's just playing in the dirt. So play is important, and that also helps with the experimentation, right? Because if you are believing that, hey, I'm not out here to do serious work, I'm out here to play, I'm out here to experiment, well, it's going to help you move around in this cycle. It's going to help you move around in this cycle and cycle and cycle. And what's going to happen? I'm down here right now. I'm taking all these different actions and I'm doing all these different things. And what's happening is I'm getting closer and closer. And what I want to talk about in my next, maybe not the next video, I've learned that's often wrong, but in a future video, what I want to talk about is that when you take action, when you go into this action piece here, right? When you go from plan to action, things change. They inevitably change. And your idea of what something was going to be becomes something else. And so I'll give you a little bit of teaser of where I'm going with this. This project started out as a video shorts project. This is not short. Where am I? I'm at 11 minutes. When I started doing shorts on these kinds of topics, I realized there was no way I could put this information into a short. Now, yeah, I can do more shorts and I will be doing shorts. That's one of my goals, to do shorts, but I had to do the longs first. So I came up with this switching system. I'd done it before, but I redid it, which it was a lot easier to do the second time because I'd already done it the first time, just putting all this gear together and these different camera angles and the screen and all blah, blah, blah. I can switch from here. I can go picture in picture. I can show you just the iPad. I can show you the name of the episode again. It's all right here, which is nice. You don't really care about that. Maybe you do if you're trying to do this kind of thing. That's fine. I care about it so much. I have to remember not to talk about it. But it has changed. It's gone from shorts to longs to live video, because when I started doing the longs, I got so bogged down in editing them, I just couldn't do it. And then I thought, well, I'll just do, I went to the belief of, oh, well, I'll do editing of long stuff using this other switcher over here, which gives me more control. And then I can put it in my video editor and then I can send it up. Well, my perfectionism, again, kept me from doing it. I do it a little bit, but then it'd take me forever. And I realized, you know what? I just got to do this live video. I just got to do it live. And that video critic that I produce videos professionally for in different ways, probably for 10 solid years of my life. But I've been a digital media guy for 35 plus years. And I had to do a lot of unlearning, to produce a video like the one you're watching now. I had to change my beliefs around it. And so, but once I've started doing this, I've realized, hey, I can start to make this stuff into podcasts. My podcast is just sitting there. I'm not giving it any content, but now I have all this content. I've been making one 4 or 5 times a week. I can give it this content. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm doing these live videos more and more as AI gets more and more prevalent. People don't trust media anymore, which I understand why not. Well, this is not AI, folks. I mean, you can tell this is not AI. Now, unfortunately, there are people that come up with these fake avatars, which are digital, and they look very realistic, and that's going to get more and more of a problem. But this is the real deal, and it's going to continue to be the real deal. And so I've learned so much just in the past few weeks, sitting down and actually talking to you, which is, I'm just talking to myself in some ways. But some of y'all are out there watching, and I appreciate that. And but the point being, let me wrap this up and ask you, what is it that you could turn into an experiment? Because experimentation is everything. That holistic piece, that 4-part self, that 4-part process, that's everything, right? That's a universe within itself. What if you said to yourself, I'm just going to experiment. I'm not going to make it have to be exactly what I think it's going to be. I'm going to start out and saying, I don't know what it's going to be. This is an experiment. Gives you so much more freedom. And freedom is awesome. Freedom is where it's at, people. We all want more freedom. And you're going to get closer and closer to whatever it is, that thing that you want to do. Plus, more importantly, is you're going to get closer and closer to that true self. Especially if you take it on a kind of a mystical level where you're like, oh man, I'm creating something that the universe is telling me to create. That's a whole nother topic. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to wrap that up here. I am David Bourne. This is the Born for the Journey series. Thank you for watching. Hope you have good luck with your work out there, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.